People of YouTube, don't you dare be sour. Clap for good mic work commentaries and feel the power.
It is so sad to see our former WWE champion do the intro for us here tonight. What's going on, guys? Happy New Year to you. Happy 2022. WWE Day One is in the books, and we've got a brand new WWE champion. Humongous monkey wrench got thrown in WWE's plans with Roman Reigns testing positive for COVID and being pulled from the event. So what the WWE decided to do, and they announced only a couple of hours before the show, was put Brock Lesnar in the Fatal 4-Way WWE title match, now making it a Fatal 5-Way. It's a very head-scratching decision. You got to wonder why they would even do that if they didn't mean for him to win the title. So we have got so many questions that need to be answered now. It's a shame that COVID has probably, like the decision they made to alter the matches here tonight is probably going to affect them long-term, because I think Roman and Brock is probably the only long-term story they really have. I think they were setting up for something big tonight with Paul Heyman being involved, maybe a swerve. We had speculated that maybe Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are still in cahoots and this whole thing is a ruse. Or we could see Paul Heyman divert back to Brock Lesnar or something like that. So with this match that was going to be the main event now canceled because of Roman leaving or not being there, they put Brock in the Fatal 5-Way instead. And all night long, I was nervous for Big E. I thought maybe that if they went through the trouble of putting Brock in this match, that means he could very well win it. And now Brock Lesnar, instead of challenging Roman Reigns for the title, now Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are both champions. So what do you think the original plan was based on the finish that we saw tonight? Because clearly at the beginning of the day, the plan was not for Big E to drop the title. I mean, maybe it was, or maybe it was against somebody else. But maybe the plan wasn't necessarily for Big E to drop the title, but for Brock to win the title. So maybe they went with this instead. I'm curious what the original plans were before Roman's positive test. And I think what we saw tonight might paint kind of a picture of what those plans might have been. But either way, it's really going to throw them off now for whatever they might have had planned for the Royal Rumble and going into WrestleMania. This changes a lot. So it's a pretty bad omen, I think, for WWE. Way to set your year off right. I think a lot of people, according to the poll here that I put up on the stream, 71% of you liked the show. And only 28% did not, 72%. So I think Brock winning had a big part in that. And I think up until that point, the show was okay, but nothing great. And I think WWE, in order to kick off the new year with a brand new pay-per-view, needed to deliver some sort of a big surprise. So I think personally, in my mind, Big E's title reign, came to an end because WWE needed to give something major in the main event. And that kind of sucks from that aspect. But I'm also a huge Brock Lesnar fan, and Brock with a title is never going to bore me. I actually like it. And now, with Brock and Roman both being champions, do you think WWE has potentially set themselves up? I mean, at least if they wanted to, they could do a unification now at WrestleMania. If the plan was to do Brock and Roman a final time there anyway, you could still do that. Now they're both champs. You can unify the belts. I mean, at this point, what is the point of the brand split? What's the point? There really isn't one. And with WWE doing so much downsizing in the past couple of years, releasing literally hundreds of talent and of pieces of talent, you got to think that, because of this new kind of business model and philosophy, do you really need the two separate rosters now? Back in the day, you needed it when when WCW was bought out and the talent was overflowing. And it's like, shit, guys aren't going to get opportunities if it's going to be the same people on both shows every week. Things are changing now, though. You could theoretically unify everything. Unify the tags, unify the two women's titles, drop the U.S. and keep the Intercontinental, and unify the worlds and go old school with it. They're never going to do that, but maybe they could think about unifying the belts if they wanted to, which means the Universal title only lasted 5.5 years. But they're in a position now to do that if they wanted. But I also don't think WWE is going to do that with the future of WrestleManias likely being 2 nights and things like that. But they are at least in a position to do it now. And it makes me nervous because WWE is such a clusterfuck creatively as it is. With this huge change that they made to the show last minute, putting Brock in there and having him win like that. Obviously, that wasn't the plan at the beginning of the day. So they just flew with that. They just went with it and are trying it, which means they got no fucking plans, which a lot of times anything they just, do on a whim isn't any worse than anything they plan out these days. But I feel like they're potentially could damage people's title runs, careers, credibility, or anything like that whenever they make these rash decisions. But, at the same time, seeing Brock win the title is pretty awesome. I like Brock Lesnar, always a Brock Lesnar fan. Don't like that it came at the expense of Big E, and now he's knocked off 2, count them, New Day members to win the WWE title. If they ever give that belt to Xavier Woods, I think it's pretty safe to say we know who's going to beat him for it, don't we? So that part I did not like, but Brock with a championship, this new man bun, flannel wearing, laughing babyface Brock with a championship, he's equally as scary, and that's what I think makes Brock so special, is that he's kind of changed up his demeanor a little bit. He's a little bit more fun-loving, but equally terrifying. Ain't easy to pull that off, and Brock does it. So whenever he's got a championship around his waist, I'm not going to bitch and complain, but I'm sure there will be people on social media who will do that for me. I'm pretty willing to bet. But anyway, can y'all hear me? Okay, yeah, y'all can. Let me say hello to everybody, by the way. Happy New Year, happy 2022. We're going to be getting into this pay-per-view, which I believe only turned out to be a 6-match card after they had to drop the Universal title match, and we had one show on the kickoff that resulted in a really gnarly injury for Ridge Holland. We wish him the best. And we'll, kind of talk about the bits and pieces here, but a couple of these matches anyway, felt like they could have been done on Monday Night Raw. But I think the action in the ring was good, but a lot of it was making you struggle to care. It didn't really happen until the end. We had the 2 big title matches. A lot of people were expecting Liv Morgan to win tonight. She did not, and I think that disappointed some. I'm of the opinion that as much as I love Liv Morgan, this isn't where I'm beating Becky. Not after she's been undefeated for 2 years or whatever the fuck it's been, whatever that insane stat is, since the last time Becky lost. Day one isn't where I'm doing it. I'm doing it at Mania, where it can really either launch someone or what I'm hoping for is redeem someone. I would love to see them come full circle with Becky and Bianca to put her down again. And I think that would be pretty awesome for Bianca if she pulled like a Stone Cold Steve Austin and won the title at 2 straight WrestleManias, maybe one year winning it on night 1 and next year winning it on night 2 against 2 of WWE's 4 horsewomen and Sasha and Becky, I think would be excellent for Bianca. So I'm still holding out hope for her. Bayley's coming back. Asuka's coming back. A lot going on. So I just didn't think, as much as I want Liv Morgan to get an opportunity as well, didn't feel it here. So not really disappointed with her losing. I'm just glad that it wasn't like one of those distraction roll-up bullshit finishes they've been doing with those 2 lately. So anyway, we'll talk all about it as we go through here, but I do owe you guys some hellos. Unfortunately, this poll is sitting in my way of seeing. How do I get it out of there? How do I minimize it? Anywho, I feel like I owe a lot of people shout-outs, and there we go. I owe some super chats answered as well. Let me start with Chris Ludecki. Thanks, brother. Thank you for being here. Appreciate the $5. Honestly, a good show. I felt the WWE title match had a sudden ending, not a ton of near falls and saves, etc. I also feel like they protected Lashley well. They did, and I was really curious about Lashley and Brock's interaction. We haven't gotten that between them before, and this isn't really, I think, what we had in mind for our very first ever Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley encounter, but Lashley speared him through the barricade and put him in the Hurt Lock before, I think it was Big E who wound up saving Brock Lesnar, and then, of course, Brock recovered, hit Big E for the F5 and won the title. But they gave us enough of a tease to where it made you want a little bit more, especially when Lashley had Brock in the Hurt Lock. And Brock's so big, Lashley's so big, it makes you wonder, what's going to happen. And now Brock theoretically is on Raw because he's the WWE champion. Even though he's a free agent, he's going to be on Raw, I guess, for the time being, unless they pull some shenanigans and allows him to get back over to SmackDown to continue what they're doing with Roman. You got to wonder if the networks are going to have a problem with this. Is Fox going to be all pissy that they've taken Brock away and put him on USA now? I mean, WWE legitimately has to think about those things now, which blows my mind that should even be an issue, what the fucking TV networks think, but it is, and you got to think about stuff like that. So I'm curious how this is all going to play out, and I fear that as cool as it was to see Brock Lesnar win the title tonight, I fear that this monkey wrench is only going to strengthen the disorganization that already exists in that company, and it's going to make things even worse. And they're going to be throwing together ideas, throwing together pay-per-views. We got the Royal Rumble coming up. There's like 20 women on the roster. There's not even enough to fill a Royal Rumble, and they might stick 2 of them in a mixed tag after what we saw tonight between Edge and Miz. So there's a lot of unanswered, and it doesn't make me real confident. Straighten out my microphone. Doesn't make me real confident for WWE from a creative aspect in terms of what we have coming up on the horizon. But anyway, we will talk about it. The only thing I can think of to do to make my life easier is end that poll. So I'm doing that. Let me cruise over here, make sure I can get to all of the chats I need to see. There we go. Now we are back. I want to welcome Trey and Angie and Mr. T and Sam and Sonic and Martin and Barry MK. What's up? Martin, Regina, Maka, Real YouTube. There is George Morris with his token $5 drop. Hey, Greg, Happy New Year. Cobra Kai Season 4, 100% better than Day 1. Enjoying 4 days off before I go back to work Monday. Both jobs, medical assistant. That is one of the most tame super chats you've ever sent, George. Thank you for that. I did wrap up Cobra Kai today. Blown away by the ending, and really excited for Season 5, and especially getting a glimpse of Chosen at the end, and also them teasing Mike Barnes coming in. They're all going to be there. We could see Chosen versus Silver, Chosen versus Barnes, Chosen and Johnny interact, all sorts of cool shit coming for Season 5. I loved Season 4. A lot of good storytelling there and character development. It was fantastic. If we have time at the end and people give a shit, we'll talk more about it. But good luck back on Monday as we kick off 2022. Hope your day is not too tough. It sounds like it might be. But I agree with you. Tough to beat Cobra Kai, even with as good as the title match was tonight. How Wheezy? What's up, man? Thanks for the $2. Hi, Greg. Happy New Year. Thank you for being a friend. You too. And rest in peace to Betty White. Can you believe that, guys? Thank you, by the way, to everyone who was here with us on Thursday night for the big year-end podcast Q&A hangout. We were up here nearly 5 hours just shooting the shit, answering a lot of questions and talking about a lot of stuff. And I know that Betty White's name came up because we talked about her on social media, because how everybody has been talking about her upcoming 100th birthday, which I think is just in a couple of weeks, and she passes away on New Year's Eve, on the final day of the year. One final kick in the nuts by 2021. Unbelievable. But she had a hell of a life, though. Unfortunately, she didn't make it to 100. It's mostly just kind of like a mental milestone. You know, she still lived for 100 fucking years and had an awesome life. So Betty White is the man, the real man. She will be missed. So sad to think about that. But how easy. Glad you're here, man. Glad you're here. Martin Can, thank you for the super chat as well. Hey, Greg, I really want a title for title match, because isn't Brock still a free agent even though he's champion? Yeah, we kind of talked about that a minute ago. That's what I'm assuming anyway. He had a promo tonight prior to his match, and he credited his advocate Paul Heyman with making him that free agent and allowing him to be able to do what he wants. Now that he's champion, we can start seeing these belts being on different shows again, which is always fucking annoying. And I think I would prefer at this point a unification over title for title, because if you do a title for title, all that means is one person has both belts, and that sucks. You got to get one off of them really quick. And every time they have done a situation like that, like they did with Becky or whoever, it's like almost immediately after that goes down, they take one of those belts away, because it's pointless to have them hold both. So I think if they do that, whoever lost their title would just get an opportunity to win it back right away, because the other guy would have to forfeit it or something. So I think that doing a unification would be more fun. Yeah, I agree, Victor. With AEW, you don't need both brands. It's really hard to keep track of the shit in WWE, and their shit is so redundant and formulaic and stuff that if you miss a bunch of shows like I've been missing, I haven't watched Raw in like 6 weeks, longest stretch I've ever gone in my life. I can still pretty much pick up on what's going on by what they run on the video packages for pay-per-views and things like that, because so much of the show is stuff that just doesn't mean anything. You don't even need to see. It's just filled TV time. It's just matches that exist for no reason, just to fill the time. And a lot of it is just, you sleep through a lot of these segments. So I think it might be time to go back to the old days and just having everybody on all the shows, and that's it. You know, just do it the way AEW does. I think it might be time to at least entertain that idea if you are WWE. Because, you know, what we've been getting, I just have very, very little interest in their product right now. It's so bad. So maybe that would help, you know. Chris, I got yours earlier. I just want to make sure I at least knocked out those super chats for now. I will be revisiting the chat here as we go. By the way, please hit that thumbs up button for me if you don't mind, and subscribe. We are here after every single pay-per-view, and we are here every Wednesday to watch along AEW Dynamite together. We do classic watch-alongs on Sundays. As a matter of fact, tomorrow night, Royal Rumble 1994. The link is up on my channel right now. Save it for tomorrow. We're going to be up here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern to watch Royal Rumble 1994, the Brett and Luger tie, Brett's leg getting kicked out of his leg, The Undertaker being put in the casket and levitating to the heavens. Wacky-ass show. We're watching it tomorrow night. So join us for that. It should be fun. Anyway, other than that, I guess I should be getting into the results here of Day One, shouldn't we? Biggie jobbed to COVID and he ain't even got it. Yeah, like we're going to talk about it as we go, Alex. But like I said earlier, I'm curious what the original plans are, or were prior to everything. Good to see Population and Michael Cuomo in here as well. Sorry, I cannot shout out everybody, but at least want to hit the super chats, the mods, stuff like that. Janine, good to see you. Rodrigo and Bo and Trey, I think I got you earlier. Not sure if I got Mr. T or not. Good amount of people in here and a decent audience too. So yeah, keep that thumbs up button moving and let's get into the show here. So anyway, 2 days, WWE Day One was in Atlanta. I think they announced 13,000 for the attendance for this thing, which is not bad. Michael Cole claimed it was a sold-out event. And it sounds like these things are not called pay-per-views anymore. They really seem to be hammering into our heads the premier live event. Now, I have been paying very little attention to WWE TV the past few weeks, other than just eyeballing SmackDown and shit like that. So I don't know if this has been something they've been doing for a few weeks, but tonight it was noticeable that this was a premier live event. I don't like it. I don't like when WWE coins the phrase or name of anything, but premier live event, you do have to get away from the pay-per-view thing because it's not pay-per-view anymore. It's streaming. Who the fuck is buying this on pay-per-view? Who is spending $60 for this trash? When it's much easier to pay $5-10 for Peacock and watch it for free. So it is, I do agree that we need to move away from the pay-per-view name because it's not really what it is anymore. And pay-per-view was also synonymous with a lot of stuff like boxing and UFC and shit like that. So WWE creating their own name for this that makes sense because WWE likes to create their own silly, stupid fucking name for everything. So premier live event, honestly, I never thought in a million years back in 2002 that I would get used to saying WWE. It felt unbelievably unnatural. And for you fans that are older than 25 or 30, or maybe in your 40s like I am, you know what I'm talking about. It was impossible to deprogram your brain from saying WWF. I went on to say WWF. I was still saying WWF in some of the early days of my YouTube channel. You'd hear me saying it because I still, after 10 years, was not used to it. It took forever. Now it's second nature. Now it almost sounds weird to say WWF. So it can happen no matter how much, you're trained or conditioned to do or say one thing. It can always be untaught and something else can be learned. So I will give Premier Live Event a chance if we can at least call them PLEs. Pay-per-view, PPV, what about PLE? And if I can get used to WWE after, spending half my life with WWF, then I can get used to PLE too. So maybe in the future it will catch on. Maybe more people will, way in the future it'll become more natural and it won't sound so damn weird, because Premier Live Event sounds stupid and it sounds like a WWE made-up name, especially when it's coming out of the mouths of Corey Graves and Michael Cole. Fucking kill me. But who knows? Let's give it a chance. I'm all for it because I do think calling these events pay-per-views is an obsolete term, and we should be calling them something else. That's my opinion anyway. Anywho, let's get into the card now. They had one match on the kickoff. This was the tag team match that was advertised, and I had a feeling this would go on the kickoff. Although I'm surprised they didn't just scrap all matches from the kickoff and put everything on the main card since we only had 6 matches on that. But Ridge, Holland, and Sheamus teamed up to take on Ricochet and Cesaro. Now, I noticed something right away when the show started that I haven't noticed before. Did you guys see the story this past week about apparently there was ideas pitched within WWE to change a lot for this show, change the ring ropes, change the set, maybe new music, or give it an overall different look or vibe? And apparently, reportedly, those pitches were shot down. And a lot of fans are kind of bitching about that. Oh, here we go. Just same old shit with WWE. But the camera angles or something seemed different tonight. The way they were shooting, the camera angles did seem different, at least in that opening match. And there was just some sort of a different look to it. So I don't know, some technological aspect of their production has been updated or something, because it definitely looked different to me. I just don't know how to explain it, because I don't know how to explain production stuff like that. Maybe you camera people know how to explain it. But the story in this match wasn't the camera angles or any of that shit. The story was just about a minute into it, Ridge Holland gets his nose smashed. They do a deal. I think Ridge is down, and I think Cesaro is going to flip Ricochet into his 450 to land on Ridge right there in the mat, not from the top rope. So when he lifts him, Ricochet rotates, but his knee looked like his foot and his shin just came down right on Ricochet's face. A few hours later on the pay-per-view, they would show a replay, a slow motion of his nose just being bent, and he was immediately out of the ring and gone. There was blood all in the ring. So I didn't even notice it at first. I didn't even see Ridge leave. I saw the spot, didn't even realize he got hurt on that spot until after. And I'm like, oh, it was when Ricochet came around and smashed his knee. And so they had to improvise there. Ridge Holland is kind of a new guy. He was impressive in NXT prior to his double knee blowout or whatever sort of injury he had. He's had terrible luck. I feel like this might have been, since it was on the Kickoff and he's facing Ricochet and Cesaro and stuff, I feel like this might have been more of a showcase for Ridge Holland. Like, he was supposed to go in there and dominate and probably get the victory for his team, but instead he has to powder out, deal with the medical staff. I think they even took him completely away. I don't even think he stayed at ringside, leaving Sheamus in there to face both guys by himself. And Sheamus won, did a great job improvising. Sheamus is a pro, and they dealt with it. You know, a bunch of professionals had something unexpected happen in their match, and they adjusted and got the match done. Sheamus picked up the win with a bro kick, pinning Cesaro. So good for Sheamus. I actually thought it was a good match, and it was a really good bounce back from a horrible situation. And we wish Ridge Holland well, because that looked like it fucking hurt. So he is not going to be feeling good for the next few days. Poor guy. Anyway, on to the main card now. We opened up with the SmackDown Tag Team title match. The Usos defending against the New Day. The Usos came out looking great, wearing all red, the SmackDown team. Love their bloodline gear. And, of course, they're taking on New Day. Now, what we got out of this match, honestly, is the same thing we always get out of these guys whenever they face. They have got amazing chemistry. They've worked so many times together, had so many different feuds together as well. I even think when they feuded at one point, it was the New Day that was the heels, right? And then Usos baby faces, maybe not. But they've had a lot of battles throughout the years, and they always work well together. But we've seen so much out of them, including a Hell in a Cell match. What were we going to get here? We were going to get a great match like we're all used to seeing. Fans were into it. A lot of great spots. This is awesome, Chance. We're going strong. I predicted in my predictions on Thursday that New Day would win the titles here, because I thought at the time that Roman was going to be retaining his title, and I thought maybe a lot of people were going to be retaining their title. I thought Big E could potentially drop it, maybe even to Kevin Owens, but I thought Roman was going to find a way to win, and so was Becky Lynch. So I didn't see any title changes, happening on the show. So I figured maybe the only one they would do would be the tag team titles, putting it on the New Day again, allowing Kofi to have a trophy, because Xavier's got a crown, Big E's got the title, Kofi ain't got nothing. So decorate the New Day some more. That's what I thought would happen. If Roman and Brock was not canceled, who knows what the outcome would have been here. I might have been right. But in the end, after a great match, the Usos hit a 3D, or a 1D, as Corey Graves was calling it, onto Kofi for the win. So Usos retain the tag team titles. It was a great match, but again, it's really hard to care deeply about a match like this when we've just seen it a million times. So nothing against the four wrestlers. They did great as usual, but still, it's just the 450th Usos and New Day match we've seen. And, I'd be cool with seeing something else. But they did a good job. Speaking of people who did a good job, another match that I just rolled my eyes on when they announced it, although it was still a good opportunity for a young star to work with the top star, and that is Drew McIntyre against Madcap Moss. I just hate the Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin presentation and segments. They're fucking terrible. I know WWE thinks that the point of it is to be terrible. I know WWE thinks that we are purposely trying to make these jokes horrible, but it's just even worse than that. It's not even coming off the way they want it to. It sucks so bad. I can't stand either of these characters, even though I like them individually, Corbin and Madcap. They both can be entertaining. I just don't understand how you are paying writers what I'm assuming is high 5 or 6-figure salaries to write this type of nonsense. And then these two morons come out to the ring, and before we get the match against McIntyre, Madcap and Corbin do a little promo in the ring, the same dumb shit they do on SmackDown that is a channel changer. Now they're doing it on pay-per-view, or excuse me, PLE, Premium Live Event. So we have to listen to them run their mouths first. Moss puts up, tells a couple of dumb fucking jokes. Finally, McIntyre comes out, and this is the part of the match that I liked. You know, if it wasn't for the silly-ass gimmick of Madcap Moss, I would be really into Drew working with a new guy, having a good match, hard-hitting, competitive battle, and obviously winning, but with this new guy testing Drew McIntyre. That's the match we got here. Madcap Moss put up a great fight. He was taking it to McIntyre. He was kicking out of shit. He was matching him with power, and he really had Drew on the ropes there a couple of times. In the end, McIntyre hits the Claymore, pins him clean, but Moss gave him a really good match. It just sucks that the Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin thing sucks so bad. I liked Sad Corbin. I wish they could have stuck with Sad Corbin a little longer and then transitioned into Happy Corbin down the road. But Madcap Moss and the way they're just so fucking obnoxious. Even for heels, it's, you know, you don't want your heels to make you want to change the channel. You want your heels to draw emotion out of you or piss you off or want to stay tuned to watch them get their asses kicked, or they make you so mad you just have to hear every word they say so you can harp on it or whatever. They don't do that. You know, when Corbin was down on his luck with the spaghetti stains on his shirt, that was some of the best shit he's ever done, and he was all in and he was playing it up so well, and he did such a good job in that role. I think he's versatile. I think he can do other stuff like being an obnoxious fucking prick like he is right now. But I also think they kind of ended that too quick, and it would have been more fun to see him go on that journey from rags to the riches that he's now supposedly found. But throwing Madcap Moss in there, it's a way to get this new guy who I think we saw in Raw Underground a couple of times, and here and there, it's a way to get him on to TV and get some time. But Jesus Christ, seeing him wrestle this hard-hitting, beefy match with McIntyre wearing fucking suspenders was just tough to watch. I just don't like it. I don't like the silly-ass fucking outfit. So anyway, McIntyre got the win there over the Madcap. After that, we get Kevin Owens' backstage promo. I think Big E had one before the Drew and Moss match, but I didn't write anything down because he was just talking about the situation. Owens, on the other hand, is interviewed about the Fatal 5-Way as well. He's a little bit freaked out because Brock is in it, but it appeared as if he just forgot his shit, forgot his lines. I don't know what was going on there in the interview, but he was pausing, and he had these long, drawn-out pauses where he's just kind of sitting there, and then he was like, you know what? I'm going to go find Seth. He just walked away. I don't think the promo was supposed to go like that. We're live, pal. So it appeared to me that he either flubbed up his lines or just plain forgot them. Maybe he was hanging out with Matt Riddle before the show. No big deal. Happens to the best of us. After that, we get, where'd I go? Oh, yeah. Now it's time for the Raw Tag Team titles. So RK Bro is defending against the Street Profits. The Street Profits earned this right on Raw, winning some gauntlet shit or something. So they've got a crack here, another crack at the titles. I said in my predictions on Thursday I would not be putting the belts back on the Street Profits right now. Keep rolling with RK Bro, excuse me. They're fun as hell. Plus, you know, every time you see the Street Profits in the ring, you got to wonder when Montez is going to be like a breakout single star, or they're going to give him a shot with that. Didn't see a title change here. RK Bro came out with the Migos. I have no idea who the Migos are. They had their own chairs out there. They have some music, sounded good. I think they had some mashup of Riddle and Orton's music, which sounded pretty dope and good beats and stuff, whatever I'm supposed to say. So anyway, they're out there at ringside. They got 3 chairs at the announce table to watch. So that even kind of strengthened my confidence in my prediction here that they ain't going to be dropping the belts to the Street Profits. Hell of a finish here. We got a great match. This match, I think maybe, actually I should ask you guys, What match was better, Street Profits RK Bro or New Day Usos? I kind of think this one was slightly better because of the finish. My God, they basically, Orton hit an RKO on Montez after Riddle had launched him. So it was almost kind of a redo of the, I don't know, maybe even the Seth Rollins big RKO that he got at WrestleMania that year. And Riddle basically just launched Montez way up in the air in order for Orton to catch him perfectly into the RKO. Crowd popped huge. Montez gets pinned, and RK Bro retains their Raw Tag Team titles. I thought it was a great finish. Maybe New Day and Usos was a better in-ring match, but this was definitely the better finish for sure. Then we get another weird segment. Tell me what you think about this. We then cut backstage, and Drew McIntyre is like, I guess he's lost. He's walking around. He's like, where the hell is the fucking locker room? He seems to be in a really good mood. Yes, he got a victory tonight, but he seems to be in an even better mood than that. And then when he's approached by Miss Interview Girl, he's like, oh, hey, what's up? Ask me whatever. He's trying to be all charismatic and bubbly and shit. And I'm like, this right here looks like a guy who's about to take some time off. Because on your last day of work, you're usually pretty happy. Right after that, he is ambushed by Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin. And this wasn't your run-of-the-mill backstage attack where you're just thrown into a door, thrown into a table, or whatever. They fucked him up. They get him down. They put his neck in a folding chair, and then Corbin goes and gets a big steel trussel or whatever it is, some piece of the staging, those big, heavy iron-looking things, and it's twice the length of a baseball bat and, about as, and really, really thick, it's just a square, like a ring post, basically is what he's got. And they get Drew down, and then he lifts it up, and he basically concertos with him this thing, but the chair acts as a guillotine, and McIntyre's just wiped out. He's just, they're selling it. Doctors surround him. It feels like if this was just your ordinary Madcap and Baron are mad about the loss, so they jump him backstage, and then this Friday on SmackDown, there's another stupid fucking segment involving a sword and a desk or whatnot. This looked like something to write Drew off TV, because that was gnarly and violent. So why would you do something that violent? And then have McIntyre show back up on Friday? It would be unrealistic. I know fans really care about when shit's realistic. Just ask Hook. But I think that it would be unrealistic if McIntyre showed up on SmackDown and he was perfectly fine because if that was the case, they would have just put him through a table, hit him with a chair, and that would have been it. That was ugly. So that makes me think that maybe he's taking a short time off. I think McIntyre would probably want to be back for the Rumble. It's at the end of the month, I thought he was going to work with Roman at the Rumble. I thought Roman would survive here, work with McIntyre at the Rumble for the title, and then maybe find Brock again at WrestleMania. But with Brock now the WWE champion, that's all changed dramatically, and who knows what Roman is even going to do. And so if Drew is not in the title picture, maybe he's requested some time off. Maybe just the COVID stuff, or he needs to do something. I don't know what his personal life is, but he worked a great match tonight, so he doesn't appear to be injured. So what was the reason for that? Maybe he just needs 2 weeks off of TV. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe he's just going to be gone for 2 weeks and he'll be back 2 SmackDowns from now. But it just seemed like a violent attack. Maybe wonder what the deal is there. I'm sure we'll learn more on that this week. Then we get Edge versus The Miz. Now, I had a feeling about this one. I don't dislike The Miz at all. I like The Miz. I didn't love that he won the title this year, but I did love the story of him winning the title 10 years apart. And luckily, it was such a small run that it didn't really bother me in the grand scheme of things. But since Edge has come back, he's worked, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton, and a great program with Seth Rollins culminating in that fantastic Hell in a Cell at Crown Jewel. I feel like Edge, if he's coming back at this age for this contract, he has a finite amount of matches in him to work before he finally hangs it up for good. So as a fan, I don't need very many Edge versus Miz matches. Just give me 1 or 2 max, and I am cool. I don't need a fucking 3-month program. So with Miz bringing Maurice back and them renewing their vows and everything last week, we're probably going to see Beth Phoenix at some point. So prior to the match, I tweeted, I'm like, tonight should be the night we see Beth Phoenix. I don't need to drag this out for another 4 weeks before she finally turns up and helps Edge or something. Just come there now. Atlanta is not that far from Asheville where they live. Hopefully she's there, and hopefully she'll make her appearance in this thing, because Maurice was out there, dressed to the hilt, and she was backing up her man. So I thought we might see Beth tonight. So Miz and Edge have their match. Edge comes out in this great Brood entrance, which just looks so awesome. I saw that in person at SummerSlam this past year, which was great. As a matter of fact, I've seen both. I've seen the original Brood entrance in person probably at least 5 times, and I've seen Edge's modern-day version of it. Very cool. Came out to the Brood. Basically, he gets 2 entrances. Starts with the Brood's music and finishes with his own. And the match between them is good, but you got to remember, we've seen Edge work with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins. So not that his matches with Miz are going to be bad or anything. I just think we've seen a lot better from Edge already. That's why I don't mind this little program. I just don't want it stretching out, God forbid, until WrestleMania. So near the end of the match, Maurice, I don't know what she had, her purse or something. I don't know what she had in her hand, but she nailed Edge when he was kind of in between the ropes and allowed The Miz to catch him in a skull-crushing finale right in the middle, but Edge kicks out. And as soon as he kicked out, a few moments later, the camera goes right to the entranceway, and it's just focused right on Beth Phoenix. There she is. She's standing there basically in the entranceway, but she's just standing there. And then like literally 5 to 10 seconds go by, and then her music hits, and then she starts walking to the ring. So I think there was a music botch. She came out there and they weren't ready. I almost think like the music was supposed to hit and then she was supposed to come out, but we kind of saw her first. I don't need any music. I didn't need Beth Phoenix's music to hit. She could have just came out there and power walked to the ring and chased Maurice away, which is pretty much what she did. She chased Maurice. And by the way, Beth looked fabulous. Absolutely amazing. She looked so good. Comes to the ring, chases Maurice away. She leaves. Then The Miz is kind of like, what the fuck are you doing here? He's still in the ring, and he's talking shit to Beth, and he goes, I'm going to go fuck up your husband right now. And she goes, okay, go for it. And Edge is just sitting there in spear position. So idiot Miz is too focused on that. And of course, he turns around, eats a spear. Edge pins him for the win, and you got to think we got a mixed tag match coming. I saw so many people on Twitter, boy, if we're not doing a mixed tag at WrestleMania, what are we doing here? I don't want a mixed tag at WrestleMania. Are you nuts? Are you fucking nuts? Do you want 3 more months of this shit between these two guys? Edge and Miz, like I said, I'm not anti-Miz or anything, but I am anti 4 months of Edge and Miz. I don't need that. I don't need a longer Edge and Miz program than an Edge and Seth program. You know what I mean? So wrap this shit up now. I think the absolute latest to do a mixed tag would be the Royal Rumble. On Twitter tonight, I had originally said I didn't want to see the mixed tag at WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble. I really just meant WrestleMania. Royal Rumble is okay, provided that everybody works double duty. I wouldn't want to see Edge not defend his Royal Rumble victory because he's got to worry about a mixed tag. And don't forget, the women's roster is ridiculously depleted right now. They don't even have enough women to fill a Rumble. They should use Beth and Maurice. So if everybody works double duty, then fine. But this inevitable, obvious, clear mixed tag match that we're going to get, you know what? I'm cool with that shit main eventing Raw. I don't need it on PLE or WrestleMania. And I certainly don't want to wait that long till WrestleMania. You could do some fun stuff. Miz and Maurice could parody Edge and Beth the way they parody Nikki and Cena. But I think Nikki and Cena was a little bit easier because they were on TV all the time with the Total Bella shit or whatever, where Edge and Beth Phoenix have a little bit more private of a life. So maybe Edge and Beth impersonate Miz and Maurice. That would be better because Edge can be funny. Edge can be super fucking funny. So, you know, his feud with Seth Rollins was so violent and personal. Maybe this can be a little bit more of a lighthearted program for Edge before he moves into a really fun opponent. I hope at WrestleMania. That's the thing. I want Edge in there with someone fun. Give me Edge and AJ, man, at WrestleMania. I'll take Edge and AJ any day over fucking a mixed tag. So if they're going to do the mixed tag, I want to see that because I like Beth Phoenix. I like all 4 of these people, but don't do it at WrestleMania. If you must do it on pay-per-view, do it at the Royal Rumble. I do think we are going to get a crown jewel between the Rumble and Mania, although Crown Jewel might not be the best setting. It took them a while just to get women in the fucking ring over there. So I don't know if they're going to want women or men beating the shit out of women or vice versa. So you could do it there, but I'd rather just knock this out in January. I don't want this feud going beyond January with these guys, unless you do the blow off at Crown Jewel just between Miz and Edge. But again, that's too fucking far away. I don't want these guys interacting on TV for the next 8 weeks. It's too much. Give me 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks match, max, and end it. That's my personal opinion. Tell me if you agree or not. But I think with WrestleMania coming back or coming up soon, with Edge seemingly wrestling at a high level, he seems to be healthy. He looks so damn. I said tonight he looks like Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie where he like is in the freezing cold and he crawls in the animal carcass to like sleep. He just looks like that with his busted ass, gray ass, scruffy ass beard. But he looks to be in great shape. He looks to be healthy. So if you have a healthy Edge, give me Edge matches that I want to see, and don't give me the same match over and over. If Edge is going to work 3 matches against someone, I'd rather that someone be a Randy Orton, a Seth Rollins, an AJ Styles, someone like that. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. But you got to think with Edge picking up the win here, if they did a mixed tag, I think Miz and Maurice would get the win on that, and then Edge would win the blow-off. And maybe you would even get a one-on-one between Miz and Maurice as well. So maybe, I mean, they might book it that way. So that match probably wouldn't be good, though. But you could do, Edge winning here, then you do the mixed tag with Miz and Maurice winning. They got to win something in this, right? And maybe Maurice could pin Beth in that match after a bunch of cheating and shenanigans. That leads to 2 singles matches, Maurice and Beth and Edge and Miz, and they both win and the baby faces win and all that. But you still get that one victory for the heels. That might be how they book it. Miz and Maurice have come up short in their attempts at these mixed tags against big, humongous power couples, so maybe they win one. So in that case, it might actually turn out to be a 3-match program, if the heels pick up the win in the mixed tag and then Edge wins blow-off. And maybe Beth wins a blow-off match of her own against Maurice. It could happen, but like I said, whatever they do, you got so much TV time on Raw that's just sitting there taking up space. You could do a lot in 1 month. So I would like the Edge and Miz affair to be over with at the end of the month if I had my way. But WWE usually doesn't do what I want. They usually don't do what you guys want either. I'll be cruising back over to the chat to catch up on the super chats and all that good stuff here in just a minute. Keep smashing the thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. We're going to be getting into what was next. I think it was Becky and Liv Morgan, correct? Let me get my shit together here. Yeah, we good. Okay. I want to make sure I can see what is going on. The Revenant. Thank you for that. Somebody else told me. I forgot it both times. I'm like, what the fuck is the name of that movie? I never saw it. Those movies aren't for me. I could never sit through a movie like that. But I remember seeing the footage or the clip of him crawling through the woods all cold. It just reminded me of Edge. Looks just like him. Final 2 matches on the card were our 2 remaining championship matches that were scheduled here. No Charlotte on the show tonight. No IC or US title. No Priest. No Nakamura. Is Nakamura even the IC champion still? I think he is. But we've got Becky Lynch defending her Raw Women's Championship against Liv Morgan. Final chance here for Liv. You would think she's come close. She's been cheated out of a victory a couple of times, and they basically have the story set up under, normal framework here. This would probably be the night that Liv goes over. The only problem is she's in the ring with Becky Lynch, who WWE, I think, is trying to build as strong of a legacy as Charlotte has. And it's been a long time since she's really been defeated and pinned for a championship in the ring. So doing it here on a random Saturday pay-per-view that's been heavily altered by COVID, to a star like Liv in WWE's mind, the way they think isn't something they're going to do. So that's why I predicted Becky Lynch all the way. I think they would rather save Becky Lynch's eventual loss, for maybe a big pay-per-view situation like WrestleMania. And I kind of understand that philosophy. I like when you have a big build like that. I hate it when they fizzle out. I want the ending to be, huge. I want the ending to be something that breaks Twitter, that sort of thing. Not that Liv winning here wouldn't have pleased a lot of people. It would have pleased me, would have pleased a lot of fans in the audience, would have pleased a lot of you. but I also think you can get a lot of value and you can save a pretty big moment for down the road when somebody puts Becky down. And I've always been holding out hope in the back of my mind for Bianca. I know a lot of people think that, she's not going to get that chance again, but there still is a story there from how Becky came back at SummerSlam and was able to take that title from her. Bianca needs to get that win back. And I think winning it against Becky at WrestleMania this year would be great, but there's a lot of other moving parts here. We got Bayley coming back. Asuka hopefully will be turning back up soon. And Lacey Evans maybe could even make an appearance. And Alexa Bliss is not around. So once all these bits and pieces, come back, then we might have a better idea. But at this point, who else would you have beat Becky? Obviously, it wasn't Liv. I saw the word buried thrown around social media a lot tonight when Liv Morgan lost. I don't believe that she was buried, but I do kind of understand the frustration of, well, you're never going to get any stars built if you don't build a fucking star. But they built Bianca, and now I think with Becky, Liv could have been made here, but somebody else can be made at WrestleMania. That's basically my point. So I'm okay with it, even though you're sad for Liv Morgan because she really seems to be putting the work in. I did not like her promo last week. I did catch it on Monday Night Raw. I was watching a little bit of it. Her delivery is so scripted. And that's a really good example of why scripting sucks. There are certain times when scripting is actually kind of better. I know most people don't think that, but it's true. But this is one of the great examples to where, when you give these people, you don't know who they are, you don't know what their personality is like or who they are inside, and you just write these generic lines. And this Saturday at Day One, I'm going to be your new WWE Raw Women's Champion. You could just say, I'm going to take your belt on Saturday and fuck you up. That's much easier. But it's the way they write out these promos and the way they're delivered. It's just like, oh God, what they're going to say 5 words ahead of what they're saying. Especially when they start talking about being the new WWE and then they hold the belt up in the air. I'm like, God, shut the fuck up. Just try to be a little bit real. And that's when these scripted promos can really shine through. And I think Liv is capable of, cutting a better promo. They probably just aren't letting her. So you don't get behind, you basically have been getting behind Liv more for what she's been doing in the ring and less what she's been doing on the mic. The promo packages haven't been bad with her, talking about her journey and her fight, to the championship and all of that. So they were setting themselves up for a payoff here. And I think any other opponent on any other night, Liv would have won the title here because they've put the belt on Carmella and a lot of other people. So why not Liv Morgan? I just think being in the ring with Becky Lynch is what hurt her there. And if it was a different champion, if it was a Carmella or something like that, then Liv would be wearing that gold right now. But I think WWE just wants to wait a bit longer before they are pinning Becky's shoulders to the mat clean in the middle. And I can understand that. So we try to look at both sides of the coin on this channel in case you weren't sure. That left us with the Fatal 5-Way. Now a Fatal 5-Way, was previously a Fatal 4-Way with Big E defending his WWE title against Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Bobby Lashley. And now, just added, Brock Lesnar. 2 big scoops of Brock added to this bowl of cereal. It was nuts. Seth Rollins is the only guy, unless I'm forgetting something, he's the only guy in this match to have ever faced Brock Lesnar, and he's beaten him twice. I don't recall any Big E and Brock encounters unless there was a brief encounter on TV or something. There certainly wasn't a match. And I don't think Kevin Owens had a match with Brock either, and we know that Lashley didn't. So Seth's the only one that's got some Brock experience in this. So everybody makes their entrances. Brock comes out last, and he just, like I said earlier, Brock looks fucking terrifying. This guy, I gave him so much credit because I find it amazing that he can have such a change kind of in his personality, not being associated with Paul Heyman anymore, coming back on his own with a little bit different of a look and a different attitude. He's got the man bun. He's got the flannel. He's being entertaining in the ring. He's not just standing there bouncing around anymore. He's talking. He's laughing. He's joking. And when you are able to be a more lighthearted character than you were before, but still are able to be equally terrifying and just as terrifying, if not more so than you've ever been, I don't know. I mean, if Brock is laughing in my face, I'm almost more scared of that Brock than the one that's just looking at me, to be honest, because he's a scary motherfucker. So for him to pull all that off, I have been loving everything I've been seeing from Brock Lesnar on TV. Him and Roman both are so much better to me than what they used to be. I loved who they were. Maybe Brock more so than Roman, because I understood the Roman complaints, but I always believed Roman was a star, and there was a star under there somewhere, that came out. But, what I like about them is they didn't do the Cena thing where they just really, really wore out their welcome. WWE is trying different things with guys, and being able to show different sides of these guys' personality is something I wish they would do with some of their other talent. Like I was just talking about with Liv Morgan, dealing with these, overly scripted promo and lines that just come off, so flat and empty and without any real soul to them. Brock and Roman, now you kind of get to see a little bit of these personalities and how fun Brock can be. And I thought it was a really good idea pairing him a few weeks there with Sami Zayn, just to, kind of show more of that comedic yet totally scary side. Some guys, when they turn into a comedy act, they never get out of that. Brock has just simply added comedy into, this persona of being a fucking murderer. So that's what Brock is, and that's why I love him. He's fucking great. So he comes down to the ring, looks like $1 trillion. Amazing. The field here had a good strategy. We all wanted to see Brock, basically interact with people we've never seen him interact with before. Yeah, he's worked with Seth, but this is giving us our first taste ever of Lashley and Brock Lesnar potentially. I was hoping we would get some sort of a tease there that could potentially set up something down the road. And I think we got that. But everybody in the match kind of ganged up on Brock Lesnar early, which was smart strategy. Big E immediately took Lesnar out. I think he clotheslined him over the top rope. As Lesnar is recovering, Lashley is poised up, and he gives Lesnar a running spear through the barricade and basically just takes Brock right out. Then Brock slowly recovers and stumbles as only Brock can. It's so great when Brock is doing his stumble selling, you know what I'm talking about, where he can't get up and he's all glassy eyed and shit. He's coming out of that barricade, and then Seth hits him with a suicide dive that takes Brock down. And then Owens is on the ring apron and hits Brock with a splash. So all four guys just fuck him up instantly to try to take him out of the equation, which was really smart. So we get a couple of table spots. Big E, I forgot who he hit with the Uranagi through the table. I think it was Brock. I think he put Brock through the table as well. So Brock was just getting his ass kicked out there. He starts to recover, though, as the match progresses. He winds up basically F5ing everyone in the match except for Bobby Lashley. So he picks up, I think it was Seth first, and then he hit Big E with one, and then Owens with one. You think Lashley is next, but instead Lashley nails Brock with a spear right as he turns around and gets a near fall on Brock. So now we got the spear through the barricade, and we get the spear in the ring with a near fall. And then Lashley lifts Brock up and puts him in the hurt lock. So all of the interaction, I think, between, and help me out because I was taking notes while I was watching, but it seemed like all of the interaction between Brock and Lashley got the better of it in every exchange there. So he's got the hurt lock on Brock, and he's got it locked. And it looked pretty awesome just seeing these huge guys, just seeing Lashley with that move on Brock Lesnar. But Big E, of all people, comes from behind and makes the save and saves him. And then I think Lashley winds up getting taken out by Big E, who then turns right around into an F5. Brock nails him with it, and you knew it. You knew it wasn't even going to be a kick-out situation. And as soon as he hit it, you're like, oh, shit, he's going to pin him. And he did. 1, 2, 3, right in the middle. Brock Lesnar is your new WWE champion, much to the surprise, I think, to the audience at home and the audience in the crowd. It got a big reaction from them. I think as wrestling fans, we all like surprises. We all like to see outcomes we weren't expecting. I'm kind of torn on this one because, like I said earlier, I'm a big Brock fan. I'm never going to complain whenever Brock is a champion. Although when you change a match last minute like this, and now you're changing a championship, and you're making this decision so quickly, I don't trust the WWE to wipe their asses properly, much less make a decision based on, their best instinct. And that usually isn't good. So I feel like Big E, had Roman not gotten COVID, might be WWE champion right now. But because of what went down with Roman, they had to scrap the main event. Now they feel obligated, to give the fans something to where this pay-per-view, isn't a total bust or waste. Because if they put Brock Lesnar in this match and then we just found some finish where Big E hits Kevin Owens with a big ending and pins him to retain the title, I would have been relieved that Big E's title reign stayed intact. But wouldn't we all be saying right now that it was a mediocre pay-per-view? Wouldn't we all be saying that, we've seen better, or that was just a glorified Raw? Those are the type of comments I think we would be saying right here, man, because pretty much all these matches could have happened on Raw with the exception of Brock Lesnar getting in the ring. So I couldn't tell if Brock Lesnar being in this match was WWE's way of honoring the fans and at least giving them Brock Lesnar in front of them, or, if they were going to, pull a fast one here and hot shot some crazy ass idea. And that's kind of what's scary, the idea that if I thought about this back in the 80s or the 90s, the idea that a championship decision to switch a championship could be made that swiftly and that quickly, even with, a potential, injury or sickness. We've seen that happen before with guys forfeiting the title. But, this was a real big decision to go the other direction with it, where seemingly it's going to disrupt a lot of what they had planned, to put the title on Brock, because he's not even on that show really right now, even though he's a free agent. And the issue on Raw has been between Big E and Lashley and Owens and Seth and all these guys. Now you're just throwing Brock right into the middle of that. I was hoping for a Kevin Owens WWE title victory this year. He just re-signed with the company for another 3 years. It's an absolute crime that he never held the belt again after his 2016 run that ended to Goldberg in 2017. And I figured since he stuck around and remained loyal and signed on for 3 more years, I might as well get some money out of him and make him a champion, give him a decent run. And we could still see that this year, but it seems a lot less likely now with Brock Lesnar being there. The only thing better would be for Owens to beat Brock Lesnar for the title. But, I think WWE now has potentially set themselves up for Lashley and Brock if you wanted to do that. You could do Lashley and Brock Lesnar, give us that match that we've always wanted. I think part of the reason WWE is hesitant on it is because they don't really know who they should put over that situation. But if you still want to pick Roman and Brock back up, you could do Brock and Lashley and then have Roman or Heyman do something to cost Brock the title. And then Brock loses the title to Lashley. So Lashley now in the record books gets a championship victory over Brock, but he didn't really get it clean because there was a lot of help. And then you can have Brock move on to face Roman, and now he wants to get revenge for Roman fucking him over. Another thing you got to think about is that Brock technically right now is babyface, right? He just beat Big E, a very, very beloved babyface champion. So WWE is now tinkering with the fans who have really enjoyed Brock Lesnar. A lot of those fans who might have not liked him and complained about him because he always wins a championship, they might have been coming around on him recently because of how entertaining he's being. But now you throw him over on Raw and you give the fans the perception that whenever you don't know what to do, you just go to Brock. It's like a cop-out. And I can kind of understand a lot of fans when they think that. So you might be giving fans that mindset, people who are finally starting to warm up to Brock. Now you've just set the fans back 10 paces because when they get mad about something, it takes them forever to get over it. So they're going to be pissed off now that Brock's champ again. They're going to be complaining on social media, telling WWE what's wrong about it. It's what the problem is, and that sort of thing. So we're going to have to listen to all that shit. So WWE could have turned some fans on Brock with this win. I don't know. I have to wait and see to find out if it was the right decision or not. If it turns out in the grand scheme of things and we get on the other side of Mania and we say, I'm really glad all that worked out the way it did, then maybe. But I have my doubts. I'm just not sure. So what I'm hoping this leads to is Brock winning the title. If they don't go to WrestleMania to do any sort of a unification here, then I do either a rematch with Big E, I do Brock and Big E, or I do Brock and Lashley. Maybe give us Brock and Lashley at Crown Jewel or something. And then Roman and Heyman interfere or whatever. Lashley wins the title. Brock's pissed. Now he goes to WrestleMania to face Roman and maybe wins the title there. I don't know. Or you do a match with Big E and Brock. As cool as it would be to see Lashley get a victory over Brock, it would be really cool to see Big E get one too. So they could do the same thing. Roman could interfere. Paul Heyman could interfere. Something could happen in the match that costs Brock the title. There, you get the belt back on Big E. You basically achieved what you set out to do at day one by giving us a big surprise ending without fucking up your storylines too bad in the long term, because then you can just take the belt back off of Brock, put it back on Big E. Brock's now mad. He resumes his stuff with Roman, and Big E can resume whatever he's going to resume. You could do that. So if that's the case, maybe that's what they're doing here, but I'm just not sure. I'm just thinking out loud. So anyway, that was your WWE Day One in a nutshell. Like I said earlier, I think the Brock Lesnar victory made this pay-per-view good for most people. It got a 70% rating on that poll that I put up, but that poll blocks the chat, and I can't read it, and I don't like the other screen that has the chat because it's dark and it's harder to read. So earlier on, that's what most of you were saying, is that you like the pay-per-view. So anyway, I owe a lot of super chats and answers, so let's cruise over here and answer some questions and hang out for a bit. And then we'll probably get up on out of here. And don't forget, we have a Royal Rumble 1994 watch-along tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. That's probably going to be going head-to-head with some sort of game, but fuck it. We're going to do it anyway because I want to see The Undertaker go to heaven. So we're going to watch that together tomorrow night. Chris, I got that one earlier from you. Let me scroll down, find my next one. Michael Cuomo, good to see you, man. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Appreciate the $5. Your sister Liv looked hot in what she was wearing tonight. To talk about my sister like that, man. Also, Moss is way too fit to be wrestling in a shirt. I was bitching about his suspenders earlier because it's hard to take a fucking dude seriously. Even though him and Drew are having a banger, it's hard to take some dude in suspenders seriously. Erwin R. Moss didn't like it. So he'll eventually break out of that. He's a sidekick right now. This is his entry-level gimmick, his entry-level way to get on TV. A lot of guys start out like this. Deacon Batista comes to mind. So this is just the beginning for him. So he'll probably shed this skin at some point once it runs its course. I just hope it's real soon because I think Baron Corbin and Riddick Moss are fucking dumb. And the whole thing is dumb. So let's wrap it up, WWE. That would be nice. Luigi, Deraw Gaming, thank you for the $5. People forget all the funny stuff Brock did back in the day with Kurt and Eddie. That was that was pretty funny too. He was starting to come into his own there too because he wasn't with Heyman. So every time Brock has been on his own, he's shown a lighter side. But it was different. The Kurt and Eddie stuff was different. It was more entertaining. I felt like those guys were more on his level almost, especially Angle. But now he's just got this terrifying look. And don't forget, he's older. He was so young. He was a baby back then. He was 26 years old. Now, he's in his 40s. He's older. He's bigger. He's got a sword tattooed on his fucking chest. He's got this big scruffy ass beard. And he just looks like a scary ass mountain man that can just eat you. So when he gets mad, or when he laughs at you and the way he intimidates, I guess is the way I should say it, especially that stuff with Sammy. When he was like, no, come on, we're going hunting. Yeah, we're going hunting. You don't have a choice. I'm going to drag you by your face into the woods. You are going hunting with me. Like, he means it. And he's intimidating as hell. And that's just what makes Brock, I think, so special. I'll be Team Brock until I'm dead. So get used to hearing it. Victor Colon, thank you for the $2 at a live event. KO fought Brock. It was on YouTube. I might remember that because Brock has had a couple of weird opponents. He faced Kofi in Japan that time, right? Okay, cool. So Kevin Owens did fight him. Nice. Thank you for digging that up. It kind of rings a bell now that you say that, but I got to be honest, I was not sure. Thanks for that, Victor. That covered all of them, right? Okay, good. I want to make sure at least got those caught up. Yeah, Rock is going to be 50 in May. We should give up on this Roman versus Rock match. Well, Rock's in great shape. What age was Ric Flair when he had his last match? That match was pretty goddamn good from what I remember. So they're different workers and stuff like that. But in terms of physically what Rock can do in there, I think having the right match could do it. I think if he wants to be the Rock that he used to be, do some chain wrestling, do his classic Rock moves, he might be a little bit slower. That's why I think a match against someone like Roman might turn out to be a great match because you don't have to do what Shawn and Ric Flair did. Roman can work a methodical pace, work a lot like Brock, throw Rock around a lot, hit him with moves, hit him with Superman punches, take him down. Every time Rock makes some sort of a rally, you put him down to where the Rock doesn't have to do anything too much. He just has to do enough during his comeback. and then he can hit a quick rock bottom or whatever, and then Roman can inevitably, hit the spear, and Rock can kind of go down swinging type of thing. I think working a match that style, Rock could probably have a good one. But you try to put him in there with AJ Styles or something, that would be fucking weird. But, at this point, given who Roman Reigns is and his character, it'd be a battle of the behemoths, but I think it would be a slower pace match with Roman dominating, Rock coming back and coming close, and then Roman winning in the end. I'd book it kind of like I book it a hybrid of Rock and Cena and Roman and Brock from 15 or something like that, to where you get the big face-to-face, it's yesterday versus today. It's, who is the real head of the table, who the guy who thinks he's the head of the table. It's a big clash here. Rock's probably arguably even a little bit bigger and a few pounds heavier than Roman, even at age 50. So, but I still think Roman will be the more physically dominant one. And if, Rock just sells, I think the match can be fine. But I feel like I don't feel a sense of closure from WrestleMania 29. I think after that match, as disappointed as we all were, including myself, and this is coming from a Cena defender, I think we all assumed that Rock would be in the ring again. I think technically he's got that bullshit win over Eric Rowan, but he never really got in the ring again and had another match. But we just thought that he would. We just thought that once his movie schedule freed him up, he would be back. He has appeared a few times, come back to TV to do some stuff. A match seemed inevitable, but it just never happened because of Rock being a slightly busy guy. But now you could do one more. The window's closing. I think Rock should have a better farewell. I think maybe his Cena farewell would have been better if it was booked a little bit differently, or if you knew that was Rock's farewell going into it, because that was a disappointing finish. I thought WWE could have turned Cena heel that night and started printing money. So to do that, just show a respect, full circle moment was nice for the story, but it wasn't what the fans wanted to see. So if you tied in a Rock retirement, like if it was career and title on the line, Rock will be like, I either continue my WWE title run or I never wrestle again. So Cena, if you beat me, I walk away. So if you knew that was his last match, then when they're on the stage, the big WrestleMania set, which was one of my favorites they've ever done, and salute the crowd, maybe a few more are cheering, than they were that night. But I think there's time to do it. I think he can still do it. I worry that the match is not going to be good the older Rock gets, but he's also The Rock. I'd go fishing with Brock too. We'd probably catch it and cook it and eat it right there, right on a fucking rock. I'd be into that. Yeah, imagine if you are more like Andrew here. Imagine if you are more of a casual viewer and you kind of eyeball shit and you were like, you kind of forgot about the pay-per-view and you think to yourself, oh yeah, I wonder who won between Brock and Roman. And then you see Brock with the title and it's the other show's title. And you're like, what the hell? You're so confused. Yeah, probably took a lot of people off guard because I had tweeted out earlier in the day, like it got to be for me 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So it's like 3 hours before the show, 4 hours before the show, something like that. And I was like, well, I guess everything is intact. They pulled a bunch of people from MSG and, Raw was, had a very light staff there and a lot of wrestlers missing, including Becky and Seth and all that. So I thought for sure we would get some announcements about some big changes to the card, but we never got anything. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess the card is going to go off as planned. And then literally right after that, it's announced that Roman is out or I think he announced it on Twitter. WWE confirmed it. And Brock Lesnar was thrown into the Raw match. So that was a big surprise. Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy. Pete Dunne, Braun Breaker, and Ciampa to beat Reigns for the title. Okay. And they're all going to be champs together at the same time. See if there's any other questions I missed or I need to hit before we get out of here. Oh, you want Bayley back as Hugger Bayley? I don't know, man. Is that really what you want? Bayley, much like Roman Reigns, much like Brock Lesnar, has done so well as transitioning into a completely different character. She's awesome. I loved everything Bayley did as a heel, and I do not want her to change. Even when Bayley does inevitably go back babyface, she might return as a babyface. It's very possible. But when I think when she does that, she won't be Hugger Bayley. She'll be kind of who she is now, but a babyface. You know what I mean? So I think she might bring that back for fun. That's what I would do if I was Bayley. I think just for fun, on a throwback Raw or something, bring the stretchy ass things or the blowy things out and put your hair up. But I wouldn't make that my babyface look. I would use it as a vintage Bayley type of thing to pull out the way Mick Foley uses Dude Love. Bring it out every now and then for fun, but don't use it all the time. That would be my advice to Bayley. What the fuck do I know? I'm a bald idiot. I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight. It was a better than normal audience that we've been seeing on the channel, so that's a great way to start off 2022. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out the door, and please subscribe if you have not yet already. We are here doing a lot all the time. You will like it here, I promise. So that'll be it for me. I will catch you guys again tomorrow night for the Royal Rumble 1994 watch-along. After that, I am working on a couple side videos that won't be ready yet. You'll probably get some mic drops maybe on Monday or Tuesday. No Raw review, of course. And then Wednesday night, we're back at it for a huge Dynamite watch-along. Paige Danielson 2. First Dynamite on TBS. It's going to be a kick-ass fucking time. So set your VCRs. Y'all take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday night, and Happy New Year. We'll catch you real soon. Be good.